Thanks to the grace of heaven and the virtue of our masters, thanks to the compassion of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for giving me this opportunity to share and report on this lesson, life's experiences. 1. Only by walking some paths do you realize the hardships. Honorable seniors and fellow practitioners, people say that life is the result of a series of choices. This statement is very true. Your life now, everyone's life, is the result of a series of choices. Therefore, only by walking certain paths do you realize how arduous they are. If you haven't walked them, if you haven't experienced them, we simply would not know. So, honorable seniors, our predecessors have walked these paths, and by following our predecessors and the divine, we are able to realize this. There is a saying in Taiwanese, only when you hold a child in your arms do you understand the hardships of your parents. It's very true. When you hold your own child, you realize how incredibly hard your parents worked to raise you. If you didn't have children, you could never imagine it. It would seem as if the kindness of our parents was something taken for granted, as if it were nothing. But when you hold your child in your arms, when you become a father or a mother yourself, only then do you realize the hardships your parents went through. Wouldn't you agree? Thus, we only realize the hardships after we have walked some paths. Life is indeed a series of choices. Let us now return to the text to explore further. 2. Only by climbing some mountains do you realize the difficulties. From afar, a mountain doesn't look like much, but once you have climbed it, you realize that there are many issues to face during the ascent. It is very difficult and exhausting. But why are there still so many people willing to challenge these hardships? Because when you have climbed that mountain, when you have challenged it, that kind of joy is like the beautiful view one sees when one climbs Mount Tai and surveys the world below. In fact, honorable seniors, it is just like when we try to guide others toward the Tao, we face some rejection. Facing rejection is normal because they don't know, they don't understand. But when they clearly understand, they will be just like us, having a good attachment to the Tao and persistence in the truth. This is why, even though climbing a mountain is very hard and potentially even dangerous, there are still endless streams of climbers choosing to do so. Because even though there is hardship in climbing, once they have challenged that difficulty, the beautiful scenery they see, that kind of joy, is something most people cannot understand. Honorable seniors, the Buddhas tell us with compassion, only by climbing some mountains do you realize the difficulties. Let us return to the text to explore further. 3. Only by wading through some rivers do you realize the struggle of trekking. Honorable seniors, is it easy to wade across a river? It is very hard. But if you don't wade through some rivers, how would you know what the struggle of trekking is like? Honorable seniors, this is the compassion of heaven telling us, if we have not drifted in the sea of suffering, how would we know the suffering of all sentient beings? Therefore, the Buddhas, every Buddha, was like us before. They were once human, and they once drifted in the sea of suffering. Later, they understood, they attained enlightenment, and even after they became Buddhas, they were still willing to return to the mortal world, having come upon their own vows, to save sentient beings once again. We see many Buddhas who have returned upon their vows to save sentient beings. If you have not waded through some rivers, how could you know the struggle of trekking? Thus, the Buddhas tell us. Only by wading through some rivers do you realize the struggle of trekking. Let us return to the text to explore further. For, only by crossing some obstacles do you realize what transcendence is. Honorable seniors, what is transcendence? Transcendence is the joy of success after you have crossed over one obstacle and moved to the next. Seniors, as we cross many obstacles, each one is a cornerstone of your success. An excellent person is one who has achieved success after crossing many obstacles. Therefore, only by crossing some obstacles do you realize what transcendence is. Transcendence means making yourself more improved, more grown, and more excellent than you were yesterday. Therefore, those of us who are learning, cultivating, and lecturing on the Tao must constantly let ourselves grow and improve. This is why our practice centers have so many advanced courses. Through learning, cultivating, lecturing, and acting in these advanced courses, we acquire knowledge and understanding, so that when we face many obstacles in our future lives, we can cross them one by one and transcend them one by one. Let us return to the text to continue our exploration. 5. Only by going through some events do you realize what experience is. Honorable seniors, experience is the result of collision. Experience is the wisdom born from the fact that one does not gain wisdom without going through an event. Therefore, only by going through some events do you realize what experience is. So, after we have gone through life after life of tempering and colliding, we have accumulated a great deal of experience and wisdom. Life's experience is exactly like this. You only realize what experience is after going through some events. Let us return to the text to explore further. 6. Only by meeting some people do you realize what tempering is. Honorable seniors, we see many people, and they say, there is always someone better, and there is always a higher heaven. We are all like frogs in a well, seeing only the sky above the well. We do not know how big the world outside the well is. So, only when we have met some people do we realize what tempering is. Honorable seniors, why do we need to learn? Through learning, we equip ourselves with a lot of knowledge. By learning, cultivating, lecturing, and acting, we will come into contact with all kinds of people. As we accumulate experience and knowledge, by continuously accumulating them, it naturally tempers you and helps you understand people. Everyone, the word human in Chinese is easy to write but difficult to live out. In the Chinese character for human, there are only 2 strokes. One stroke represents favorable circumstances, and the other represents adversity. The word human is simple, yet because it is simple, there are many complex mentalities that arise because the human heart is separated by the belly, i.e., human nature is unfathomable. Thus, heaven tells us with compassion, only by meeting some people do you realize what tempering is. Let us return to the text to explore further. 7. Only by reading some books do you realize what wealth is. Honorable seniors, there is an old saying, within books, there is beauty as radiant as jade. In the past, the only way people could change themselves and transform their lives was through reading. Reading allows us to increase our knowledge, expand our experience, and accumulate the wisdom of the ancients. Of course, nowadays we can learn a lot of knowledge through internet searches, but honorable seniors, books contain the wisdom left behind by the sages. What kind of books should we read? Remember, we must read good books, read the books of the sages. By reading good books and the books of the sages, we can become like the sages and Buddhas. Because books are the classic wisdom left by the sages, by reading their classic wisdom, we can accumulate a great deal of their knowledge and apply their experience to ourselves. Imagine, we are like standing on the shoulders of the sages. Everyone, at this moment, our perspective on things will be different. Therefore, for life's experience, the Buddhas tell us with compassion. Only by reading some books do you realize what wealth is, and only then can you understand the accumulation of experience. Let us return to the text to continue our exploration. 8. Only after living a whole life do you realize what happiness is. Honorable seniors and fellow practitioners, the Buddhas tell us with compassion, only after living a whole life do you realize what happiness is. Many people go through their entire lives without ever knowing what happiness is. Therefore, we often see people reflecting on their lives, just as the Taiwanese saying goes, life is high, vast and hollow. Some people who have no achievements, who have accomplished nothing, when facing death, sigh about their lives with this Taiwanese phrase, life is high. The meaning of this phrase is, it is as if life amounted to nothing, as if one came here for nothing. Therefore, honorable seniors, we must seize every minute and every second, we must be cautious, diligent, and down to earth in our daily lives. Only in this way, since we have all come to this human world just this once. The sages and Buddhas also came once, but they were able to attain the Tao in heaven and leave a lasting reputation on earth. Yet, how many people remain unknown? Thus, when facing death, for some it is as light as a feather, and for others, it is as heavy as Mount Tai. So, honorable seniors, when we have lived a whole life, do you know what happiness is? If you know, congratulations to you, it means you have not lived this life in vain. If you have already lived nearly half your life, and up to this point, you look back and think, if you have reached this stage in life, this hurdle of life, and you still feel that life is high, then you must be careful, you must be careful. Therefore, honorable seniors, seize the time and seize the opportunities, because time waits for no one. Life is a one-way ticket, everyone from birth toward death is on a one-way trip, no one can start over again. Therefore, we are very fortunate that at this juncture, at this point in time during the White Era, we have come to this world and we are still walking on the path of learning, cultivating, lecturing, and acting upon the Tao. Honorable seniors, although it is a bit arduous, every taste of it is happiness, wouldn't you agree? Let us return to the text to continue our exploration. 9. The greatest benefit of maturity is that what you couldn't get before, you don't want anymore. Honorable seniors, are you mature? Let's use things to test it. Think back, those toys you liked when you were a child, you might have argued with your siblings over those toys, right? What is maturity? When you see those things again, the things you used to fight over with your siblings. When you see them now, you feel they are nothing special, right? Honorable seniors, this applies to the things of childhood, and it also applies to everything we possess as adults now, whether it is tangible wealth at home or real estate. To us now, it seems like we must have a lot. Money is never enough. Honorable seniors, when one day these things are no longer important, I hope we still have the chance to make a choice. Therefore, the greatest benefit of maturity is that what you couldn't get before, you don't want anymore. Even if you were given the toys you once really wanted, you would now treat them with disdain. Honorable seniors, we must see through the things of this world early. Do not wait until the very end, when all these tangible things become the attachments we cannot let go of. Let us return to the text to continue our exploration. 10. Everyone's life will eventually fade into simplicity. There is no need to compare or to admire others. Honorable seniors, everyone's life will eventually fade into simplicity. There is no need to compare, and even less need to calculate. Honorable seniors, the same rice nurtures 100 different kinds of people, and everyone faces death differently. Some people live brilliantly, and some live in obscurity. There is no need to compare. We just need to grasp the opportunities in life. Grasp the opportunities to learn, cultivate, lecture, and act. Grasp the opportunities to contribute to others. Honorable seniors, keep contributing, fulfill your vows, and let yourself continuously grow and improve. There is no need to compare with others. Honorable seniors, if one is wealthy while practicing the Tao, act according to wealth. If one is poor while practicing the Tao, act according to poverty. Wealthy and successful in the Tao, like Shakyamuni Buddha. He was a prince who possessed the world, yet he still renounced the throne to practice. He attained the Tao in heaven and left a name on earth. Poor and humble like the sage Yan Hui, a bowl of rice, a ladle of water, living in a narrow alley, others could not bear the misery, but Yan Hui never changed his joy. Even though he was very poor and destitute, he could still be content with poverty and find joy in the Tao, eventually attaining the ultimate fruition, attaining the Tao in heaven, and leaving a name on earth. Therefore, everyone's life will eventually fade into simplicity. There is no need to compare, no need to admire, and even less need to calculate. We must properly seize the time and seize the opportunity. Do as much as you can. If there is an opportunity to fulfill a vow, absolutely do not miss the chance. Let us return to the text to continue our exploration. 11. What the days require is contentment. What life requires is happiness. Honorable seniors, what the days require is contentment. Contentment brings constant joy and can make one forget worries. Stealing a moment of leisure in the midst of busyness allows for easy cultivation. If you want to live your days well, you must have contentment. You want to be happy. You only need to be content to be happy. What if you are dissatisfied? Honorable seniors, when you are dissatisfied, even if you possess the whole world, you are still unhappy. However, if you are satisfied and content today, even if you are like Yan Hui, having only a bowl of rice and a ladle of water, you can still be content with poverty and find joy in the Tao. What the days require is contentment. What life requires is happiness. Honorable seniors, Everyone is living a life. Is your life a happy one? If you are happy, congratulations, because happiness is created by yourself. So, in our lives, when we encounter such situations, what is the difference between your palm facing down and facing up? The palm facing down is for giving, the palm facing up is for taking. When you are constantly giving, actually, honorable seniors, in the midst of giving, you naturally get back exactly what you give. We Chinese have two characters that are very meaningful. What you want, you must first give away. Therefore, Shida, give and take, only by giving can there be receiving. Without giving, there is no receiving, right? So, what life requires is happiness. If you want happiness, if you want to attain happiness, you must first give. That is to say, when your palm is facing down, as you are giving, heaven, out of compassion, will secretly and invisibly provide for you. Naturally, you will receive it. The mystery of the universe is just like that. Thus, the Buddhas tell us with compassion. What the days require is contentment. What life requires is happiness. Let us return to the text to explore further. 12. By changing your way of thinking, you can make problems simpler. Honorable seniors, sometimes we all make things too complicated. You must practice empathy and change your way of thinking. Naturally, the problem will become simpler. Therefore, honorable seniors, why do we say, stillness leads to gradual progress? Stillness is simplicity, stillness is understanding, stillness is clarity. So, when we practice empathy and let ourselves look at things from a different angle, when you look at a problem from a new perspective, honorable seniors, the problem naturally and automatically becomes simple and easy to understand. This is because sometimes we often get stuck in a certain spot. If you are stuck in a certain perspective, you will feel attached to what you see. You might say, what I see is clearly like this. I clearly see something blocking me in front, how can you say there isn't? But when you change your position and look again, it will be different, you will have a sudden realization. So, honorable seniors, changing your way of thinking can make problems simpler. If you do not change your way of thinking, have you noticed that your problems become very, very complicated? Wouldn't you agree? Thus, life's experience tells us that changing our way of thinking can make problems simpler. Let us return to the text to continue our exploration. 13. By changing your stance when looking at people, you can be more tolerant in your dealings. Honorable seniors, look at my hand. My palm is paler, while the back of my hand is darker. When we do not change our stance to look at people, we only see one side, and we fail to see the other side, which is completely different. So, how can we be tolerant in our dealings? The Buddhas tell us with compassion to change our stance when looking at others, which is to put ourselves in their shoes. When you put yourself in their shoes, when you have empathy, when you change your stance to look at people, your decisions will definitely be different. Why is there so much strife in our society today? Why do many countries have so many conflicts right now? Everyone is standing from their own perspective to look at things. If you have empathy and you change your stance to look, things will naturally be different. Because you will put yourself in their shoes, and you will have a compassionate heart for the world. If there is such a compassionate heart, let me ask, would there be wars in the world? Would there be conflicts between people? There would not be. The world of great harmony that Confucius told us about is when we have the ability to help those who are incapable. That is the world of great harmony, not what we see now, where the world is based on the strong bullying the weak. That would not be good. Thus, heaven is compassionate. In life's experience, the Buddhas tell us that if you change your stance when looking at people, you can naturally be tolerant in your dealings. If you do not change your stance to look at people and keep judging from your own perspective, things will definitely be biased. Let us return to the text to continue our exploration. 14. By changing your mindset when looking at life, you can attain more beauty. Honorable seniors, life is full of variety. The same rice nurtures 100 different kinds of people. The kind of life you attain depends on your mindset. If your mindset is good, everything you see is good. If your mindset is not good, everything you see is not good. Therefore, honorable seniors, in life's experience, the Buddhas tell us with compassion that if we want to attain more beauty, we must change our mindset when looking at life. When you use a certain mindset to look at people, it is naturally different. Honorable seniors, looking at people while wearing sunglasses is definitely different from looking at people after taking them off. The colors are different, and the light is different. Therefore, never wear colored glasses to look at people, as you might look down upon them. We are very clear, when walking, we do not forget the path we took. When returning home, we remember when we left. It is clear and unmistakable. So, the Buddhas tell us with compassion that by changing your mindset when looking at life, you can naturally see more beauty. Let us return to the text to continue our exploration. 15. Sometimes you only need to change your angle, and you can change your whole life. Honorable seniors, let us return to the card and look at this image. Honorable seniors, what do you see in this image? Do you see a cup? Or what do you see? Some people see a cup, and some people see two people facing each other. Honorable seniors, sometimes we only need to change our angle, and we can change our own lives. Just like the image I just showed you, some people see a cup, and some people see two people facing each other. Whether it is a cup or two people facing each other, these are all facts, they are all things that exist. Honorable seniors, this means that when many things happen, the angle you see is correct, but the angle others see is also correct. So, there is no issue of right or wrong, it is an issue of perspective. Honorable seniors, when we want to change our own lives, do not simply look at things only from your own perspective. Why not practice empathy and change your angle to look? What you see will definitely be different. Honorable seniors, the stones from other hills can be used to polish the jade of this one. Other people's experiences are also valuable lessons you can acquire. Therefore, we are often fixated on our own angle to look at things, which leads to bias and the loss of an objective stance. So, in life's experience, the Buddhas tell us with compassion that sometimes it is very simple to change your own life. Why not stand up from your position, stand at another angle to look, and you will see a different life, different things, and a different realm. Therefore, honorable seniors, sometimes you only need to change your angle, and you can change your own life. Since it is so simple, why are we unable to do it? Because we are always fixated on what we see. Why not change your angle and take a look? Your life will definitely be different. I wish you well.